All right, I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone with this one, so I'm bringing a friend with me. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of really big buzz about this one, and I figured, okay, well, I'll stretch my legs, I'll get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and try a band that I wasn't all a big fan of when they first came out, because I was kind of that the demographic that these guys were playing towards, but I just never got into them. So, you know what? Let's try something new. Let's do it. Let's get into this review. We Are Not Your Kind by Slipknot. So, Slipknot is a heavy metal band. Wow, I almost said progressive rock because of how much progressive rock I actually do. They're from Iowa. Their big gimmick thing is that they all wear masks, and during each album release, they all change their masks around a little bit so that they always have something new. Their big claim to fame was Psychosocial, and that was the only song or track that I know them from. I actually went to see them live because Marilyn Manson had opened up for them, and I'm a big Marilyn Manson fan. And so I saw one of their sets, and it just seemed to be the same kind of sound over and over again. It's that, and then the lead singers, and if you're a Slipknot fan, I've just turned you away. You've already clicked off of the album and this review completely. Oh well. After hearing so much good things about We Are Not Your Kind, I decided to have a deep dive and a listen to it, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed this album. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and a lot of the things that people are saying about this album are true. So it is one of those, is the hype real? The hype is real. I found myself really enjoying this album. It is still very heavy. It is still very intense. It still has that kind of industrial turn of the century, slight new metal feel to it by being that heavy metal from the early 2000s, but it is definitely subdued in more of a experimentation side of things, more of a progression in sound. There's a lot more trying different new things and things that I haven't even heard before. And in that sense, I really, really enjoyed it. I really like how this album opens up with Insert Coin being a mini symphony. When we come into Unsustained, and that's where the brutality just really, really hits you. And it never really kind of lets off. Even though there are a number of points on this album that do kind of take a break, it is pretty relentless from start to finish. And there are a lot of really tasty moments on here. There's a lot of really good guitar licks and harmonizations between the guitars and the singing styles. But the one track that I really, really like is the track Spiders. It feels almost like Halloween in terms of like the piano work that's kind of permeating over top of it all. It was a really interesting thing for a heavy metal band to do, and one that I particularly applaud. Like, this is something that we would find a lot within the progressive rock genre, of trying these creepy, crawly feelings and not having to rely on this intense, brutal playing style to bring about such a strong emotion. These strong emotion can come within the darkness of the night. And another track that really stands out for me, even though it is kind of lost within the big maelstrom that we have going on, is Critical Darling. I really like some of the lyrics on here, even though it's a little bit over the top at times. Like the one is, every time I'm doing something, I'm breaking a promise that I made to myself a while ago. And I'm like, okay, there's that early 2000 angst that I was hoping for, right? Like, there's that angst that my teenage self would like point to and be like, you get it, man, you get me, my small town rural Ontario problems, you get it. But I also love some of the build-ups that we have on here, like that angst that we feel builds towards something bigger, and they're kind of using it to their advantage in that sense. And some of the sounds that we have in that midpoint, like when the song starts to dip down a little bit, and we have a lot of those like synthesizer experimentation. Like, I love that kind of sound that's ushering us through this midpoint. I was just like, whoa, these guys are really trying something new, and I'm really enjoying this. And then, of course, when we get to the end, it's just that balls-to-the-wall insanity moments that is just like, oomph, oomph, oomph. And another kind of really experimenting point on this album is the second last track of Not Long for This World. It starts off really kind of quiet and somber, which is good because we kind of needed it after so many like brutal tracks. But once we get to kind of the The last third, it kind of just goes completely off the map, and it almost feels like a video game. And I can almost see like this guy taking hits in this arcade forum. I really like that kind of experimenting of sounds and seeing what they can do within this particular landscape. Obviously, I can't say that this album is perfect. There are a few moments on this that I'm like, I don't quite know what they were doing. And there are a lot of moments that I feel do kind of overstay their welcome. I mean, this album is a little bit on the long side, and I think you could probably trim off about maybe about 15 minutes without losing too much of what you really want to have going. So I think if they shifted through and polished off some of these guys, we would have had a really, really, really strong work. Instead, we have a really strong work. Like, I'm kind of nitpicking in that sense, and I know a lot of people, especially if you like this particular type of heavy metal, this is right up your alley, and this is something that you're going to love. This is also a really great gateway into this type of music for those that are outside of it, because they do experiment. There's a lot of different touchstones that people could grab onto from different genres of music to really enjoy this particular piece. I was rarely bored. There were a few points, as I mentioned, that felt like it was starting to repeat itself a little bit. There were a few moments that I felt kind of retread the same groundwork that we've already had. But other than that, this album really blew me away, and it thoroughly impressed me from a band that I was only kind of interested in terms of like, oh, I know Slipknot because of Psychosocial, but that's about it. Now I can actually say, oh, not only do I like them, but I actually really enjoy this particular album of theirs. I might go back and listen to some of their other works. But yeah, I think that's about it. Overall, this is one that I would definitely download. This was one that really surprised me. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I ended up doing a review. So I usually save my reviews for albums that I have something to talk about, and I didn't think I was going to have a lot to talk about, but apparently I had quite a bit to talk about. So yeah, that's about it for We Are Not Your Kind by Slipknot. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'm interested to hear of your own thoughts about this album by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.